Hey, it's Em, and I finished another book. I read The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett, if I'm remembering right. I don't still have the book. My husband took it to read. Okay, so this book was not what I expected from the various kind of bits and pieces I'd heard about it. I was expecting something set in the Victorian era, but maybe with a little bit of, I don't know, not magic necessarily, although I guess maybe. I guess I was thinking it was going to be similar to the Marvelous Light in that series by Freya Marske, because, you know, something that was like a world we already knew, like historical, and then with some other elements. I knew it was going to be a mystery. I'd heard it was very Sherlock and Watson-esque, which is what interested me in it. So, imagine my surprise when I picked it up and immediately there's a map and there are charts and I'm like, oh no. Because if you've been on this channel at all for at least a little bit, you know that I'm not somebody who reads a lot of high fantasy. It's not that I can't understand it or follow it. It's more like, is it worth the work? Because a lot of fantasy, especially if it's a long book, this one wasn't too long. This one was 406 pages. But if it's a long book with a lot of lingo, with a lot of words from foreign fake worlds or whatever, if you know, they're laying it on thick, I'm just like, ugh, I'd better really like the characters or really like the plot to put in the effort to trudge through. Because a lot of times I find that these books are more world building than anything. And the world building can be insanely good, but if I don't like the plot or the characters, I don't care how cool your world is. Sorry. It just... So, I started the book. After the first 30 pages, I wasn't sure. I didn't 100% love the narrative character, who his name is Den. He's a wannabe assistant investigator, but he's still an apprentice. This is a fantasy world. It's more complicated than I really want to explain, but basically there are 3 rings. The first ring is the most innermost part of the empire, and then there's a second ring and a third ring, and then there's a seawall because these Leviathan creatures tend to come out of the water during the wet season, and they have to stop them from getting farther inland, I guess. Okay, so this is a murder mystery, and I love a good murder mystery. But again, at the start, I wasn't sold on the main character. It is told from his point of view, like first person, and his boss, the would-be Sherlock Holmes character, is, I think, somebody I liked even less. And so I wasn't sure, but I'm glad I kept going. Because at the end of the day, I did give this 4.5 stars. I removed a few stars for a couple of things. Number 1, there were some editing issues. Nothing major, but as an editor, things that I noticed where I was like, what? There was a point where somebody said more greater, and I was like, And the way it was written, what they were trying to get across, it wasn't necessarily wrong, but I still would have rephrased it. There was another point where the way something was phrased, well, the way it was written, it suggested that a smell was tiny, and I was like, a smell can't be tiny, and it was the way, again, it was just, I would have rephrased it, because it was clear what was meant, but it was poorly worded. And also, there were just points in time where I'm not sure the author remembered when the one character, the Sherlock Holmes character, needs kind of a sensory deprivation to think. And I say sensory deprivation because it's only really eyesight. She doesn't plug her ears. She doesn't stuff her nose. I don't know why only sight is what overstimulates her, but okay, whatever. But there were times where it wasn't really clear. She would do something with her eyes, but then she was blindfolded just before, and she's blindfolded just after. And I'm like, okay, then how is she doing this thing with her eyes that the narrator is remarking on? It's one thing if he's like, I can see her expression, even though she's blindfolded. But when he's saying she did something, she like narrowed her golden eyes or whatever, I'm like, aren't they blindfolded? What are you doing? So some editing things. Also, one little thing about these Leviathan Titan creatures. I cannot, despite the various descriptions, I cannot picture them. I can't figure out what I'm supposed to see. They have legs. They are dome shaped. So I'm like, are they giant insects? But then they've got like a face or something somewhere. I can't tell if the face is maybe in the belly. I don't know. I just felt like the description should have been a little bit better there. Or I guess give me a picture. If you're going to give me a map and a chart of the rankings of all these people, maybe give me a sketch of one of these things. I don't know. So I didn't round up to 5 stars on Goodreads. I gave it 4. I think between this and Destroy This House, the 4.5s, I'm just trying not to give too many things a 5-star out the gate this year, because I liked both those books very much. And I'm like, but are they 5-star reads? And I don't know. I might go back and change that. I don't know. We'll see in relation to when I read more stuff this year, whether or not I feel like actually they're 5-star reads or not. Anyway, this story is a murder mystery. And so I think that's part of what I really liked about it, is because I do like a good murder mystery. I wouldn't necessarily say there's a Sherlock Watson dynamic here, mostly because they're not actually working together in that sense. The Sherlock character, like I said, she needs sensory deprivation, and she sends, the main character out to do stuff and bring information back that she can kind of sort through. I did appreciate that I correctly read a forthcoming relationship between the main character and another character. Because sometimes I'm reading in something I want. And so I'm like, oh, this may not be what I think it is. But then it was. So that was pleasant. I did figure out a lot of this stuff pretty early on. A lot of the reveals. I was like, well, yeah, I didn't know the details necessarily. I didn't know the finer points of how things were done. But I definitely fingered all of the correct baddies. But it was still enjoyable to travel along and read my way through it. So no points lost there, because there's a balance between knowing and then thinking, and it wasn't even that fun to read, but like knowing but it was fun to get to the reveal and be proven right. Like I didn't mind that. Sometimes you don't want to be proven right because you want them to be cleverer than that. But I was like, no, this was a good level of clever, even if I did figure it out. So I guess this is the first in a series. I don't know if I'll read the next one. I guess it'll depend on what the premise is. I haven't even looked. I've heard from people that the second one isn't quite as good. I might still give it a try somewhere down the line. I'm not in any hurry. I was going to read The Impossible Fortune next, but this kind of, I guess, being in the fantasy realm made me want to pick up the next Heaven Official's Blessing, so I'm reading number 6 of that right now. Yeah, so I guess if you've read this, let me know your thoughts. If there are more fantasies like this, I'm really surprised, because even, like I said, even my husband, when he saw me reading it and heard the premise and saw that there was a map in charge, he's like, oh, honey, that's not your usual thing. And I'm like, I know, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, but I'm going to give it a go. And I'm glad I did. I am glad I did. because it was, at the end of the day, worth that amount of work. And it wasn't like some books, and I've read Robert Jordan and, the big chonky stuff. This wasn't as much work as one of those. So I appreciate that. It was just enough work to make it worth it, I guess. I will say the title's a bit of a giveaway. You're sitting there and you're going, well, I'm pretty sure there's going to be a cup involved at some point because it's called the Tainted Cup and everybody's been poisoned, so I don't think that's a spoiler because it's the title. So, you kind of are like, duh. But yeah, it was good. But again, if you've read this, if the sequel is worth it, let me know. If there are other fantasies that kind of hit that sweet spot, like, again, I really enjoyed the Freya Marska books, which were alternate history, I guess, Edwardian magicians. I guess this book did leave some open questions about the characters' histories and families and, things that I suppose if you keep reading the series, you're promised more little morsels of information, which is, I guess, the reason to continue reading if you care enough. I don't know that I'm that interested in the characters' backgrounds. I don't know that I've been hooked quite hard enough for that. But, we'll see. Sorry, I'm just kind of rambling. These are just my thoughts. I literally finished it yesterday. 4.5 stars for now. That might be adjusted. Just, again, I might need to read a few more books this year to see where everything stands in relation to one another, because I feel like ratings could be, like, each book should be rated on its own merits, but in a way, because of proximity bias and recency bias and all these things, sometimes the way you feel about a book right after you read it and right after you've read something else that's really good or, something that's not that good, I might need to let it simmer and then adjust ratings accordingly, let's say. But yeah, that's it. That's it for me for now. And until next time, take care.